And welcome back for another episode of Throwback Hoops. This is the 126th episode. My name is Woody V, and I'm your host for the evening. And as always, I'm joined by NBL 1 extraordinaire and KO sports commentator Robbie Clayton. What's going on, brother?
It's a very kind intro, Woods. I like that. I wasn't quite sure who this young bloke was that was introducing the show today, so looking very clean cut there, I got to say.
Yeah, you notice how I changed everything up a little bit? Rachel was listening to my intro and she was like, nah, that's played out, man. You've been using it too long. I like that. You need to change it up a little bit. So I was thinking about it.
I changed nice to get the KO recognition. It's been great. I've had a lot of people sort of reaching out, because I think obviously KO is so much more available for people to watch NBL 1, right? I think most people's TVs will have that KO button actually on the remote control now. So I know it's been probably easier for people to find than the NBL 1 app. So no, I appreciate that.
What did I just call you? NBL 1 extraordinaire and KO sports commentator. You like that?
Sounded good. Yeah, I liked it. Yeah. Sounded good. Yeah, I'll take that from this young-looking bloke. Yeah, I'm loving the hat as well. I know that's one of the few hats that we've both got the same. Remember? Yeah,
for sure, nice. Man. There's a reason behind it. So
yeah, okay, nice.
Okay, and thank you for the compliments on the shaved beard, man. I'm glad you like it. All right, let's kick things off, man. Why don't you take us away?
Nice. Well, when I was playing my jerseys this week, I've actually got a list of all the jerseys that we've had on, and obviously, we're 126 shows in. I was rocking 2 jerseys for a good 100 of those, so we've been through a lot of team jerseys. The Grizzlies is probably the one team where we've only had, literally maybe 2 or 3, I think, over the time. I think we might have had a Jaren Jackson Jr. I did rock an Antonio Daniels, so I thought I'd take it way back this week and rock one of the original Grizzlies here in a champion jersey. So I'll just stand up and show you this one, then I'll talk a little bit about this big unit.
And for those who can't see, Robbie's wearing the Big Country Bryant Reeves jersey. And if I'm not mistaken, actually...
Woods is getting a prop out. Look at this. Nice.
Well, while we're on the topic, I got a little...
Very cool. Yeah, I've got one of those as well. That's great, isn't it? It's funny. The reason I sort of wore this, apart from wanting to rock the Grizzlies jersey, I actually watched that documentary this week. So for those who haven't seen it, it's called Finding Big Country. So it's by a Canadian filmmaker named Kat Jamie. Not sure if you've seen it, Woods. It's on YouTube. It goes for less than 40 minutes. It's a really easy watch, right? So she basically just, she was a massive Vancouver Grizzlies fan in the 90s, and then she still got a love for basketball and was just trying to find out where Big Country Reeves is now, and basically took ages to track him down. She eventually got an invite to his ranch out in Oklahoma, and she played basketball with him, and he just seemed like the nicest, most down-to-earth guy. So I recommend definitely for yourself, but any of our viewers, to sort of watch that to find a bit more out about the big man. But I can certainly tell you a little bit about the big guys. So yeah, I'm rocking a Bryant Reeves white champion Vancouver Grizzlies jersey. So nice random one. I know a lot of the Vancouver Grizzlies jerseys were the teal coloured ones, so these white ones were a little bit harder to find. So look, he played 6 seasons in the NBA, Woods. Pretty hard to believe. So drafted out of Oklahoma State by the Grizzlies at pick 6 in the 95 draft. So I think he was just one pick behind Mr. Kevin Garnett. So played his entire career with the Grizzlies. Career scoring average of 12.5 in only 395 games. Had a career high of 41 points. Had 19 rebounds on multiple occasions. But look, ultimately the big man's career was cut short way too early as he was forced to retire due to chronic back pain, which was caused by the degenerative disc. So you wonder if it had been in this sort of current generation now with medical advances and other things like that, whether they might have got a little bit more out of him. So yeah, 51 years of age, he's still, fairly young guy. He's a cattle farmer in Oklahoma, and yeah, honestly, really encourage people to watch that doco just to find a little bit more of the history, not only about Big Country, also about the Grizzlies. And look, some of the highlights they showed of him, Woods, he was a little bit ahead of his time there. He had some great touch for a big guy. He wasn't this big sort of lumbering guy that you used to see back in the days. And for people that don't know him, he was probably 7'1", maybe 140, 150 kilos. He was a huge unit, right? I think there was an interview with Shaq on that documentary where he mentioned that, look, Big Country was a problem when he used to play against him. He said he was a big, mobile sort of guy that, although he couldn't sort of jump out of the gym, he could still run up and down the floor pretty quick, had some good touch and that. So bit of a blast from the past. Apart from your little figurine thing there, what are your memories of Big Country?
I remember that draft, and Damon Stoudemire, I think McDyess could have been Stackhouse, and
Rasheed Wallace.
There's so much around that draft. I remember, right? He was like a franchise player for that Grizzlies team, right? Because they were just coming as an expansion team at the time that he was chosen there, right? So he was actually the face of that franchise in the first few years. I just remember
he embraced the franchise too, Woods, where other people that maybe didn't want to be there, he kind of embraced it, right? So
for sure. And he'll always be a part of history because of that place and time he had. The expansion happened into Canada with Toronto and Vancouver. Big Country was straight away the face of one of those franchises. Big guy, big personality, a country boy coming in and dominating the NBA. I just remember that, he got that exemption at the end of his career because, he couldn't play anymore because he had debilitating. I think
it was a shame,
knees.
wasn't it?
Knees,
no, it was back. So degenerative disc in his back. And he tried to come back a few times and it just kept on getting worse. So, funny enough, I sort of looked up, how did he get the nickname? Was it just because he was a big country guy? It's actually an interesting one. So one of his teammates, I think it might have been one of the first few times he was on a plane. Apparently, he's looking out the window. He's like, "Man, USA is a big country, isn't it?" And they're just like laughing at him, like, "What the hell?" sort of thing. And just big country kind of stuck with him. And I think it fits him quite well with just the size of the guy. But Woods, I know you're going to watch that doco on YouTube. I know you're big on these sort of things. Let me know your thoughts. Anyone else that watches it, I hope you enjoy it.
Hey, I've actually been curious. What's he up to these days? What happened to him? So, yes.
Yeah, 100%. You'll find all that about it. So he's got a really nice house, I'll tell you. I think probably a big farm, in Oklahoma, sort of country area wouldn't have cost too much of the thing. He's got this massive memorabilia room. And what I loved at the end of the doco is it obviously wasn't sort of set up, but he actually gave this young filmmaker, I think, like a game-worn jersey, a pair of his shoes and stuff like that. And they actually played a game of one-on-one. So she was quite a good high school basketballer, the girl that did the documentary. So they actually played a bit of one-on-one in his like barn sort of basketball area. So yeah, really good. It's a really feel-good story. And even just reading the comments on YouTube, people were loving watching it as well. So yeah, nice. A bit of a trip down memory lane with the old champion jersey. But what about yourself? I see you've got a bit of a theme going today.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just going to stand up.
Woods is standing up, rocking the number 11. Klay Thompson, Golden State jersey with the Dallas hat, which is obviously a reason for that, right?
And this is the championship hat, 2010-11. There's a reason behind it. Have you worn a Klay Thompson jersey on this show?
I don't own one, actually. Yeah.
Right, so I'll just quickly take us through some of his accolades in a minute. But the reason I wore it today with this hat is obviously this is his new team, and this Golden State Klay Thompson jersey was worn with pride for the best part of the last 15 odd years, right? Yeah. So. And I heard Klay Thompson talk, and he recently just introduced to Dallas, and he was saying that things weren't the best. He didn't have a great vibe around Golden State for the last 2 years, and he was watching the Mavs on that championship run, and he saw how much they enjoyed playing with each other. He was just thinking, I would fit so well into this team. I'm the piece that this team needs, right? So this is that championship hat from 2010 and 11. So I thought it'd be fitting to wear this hat in light of those comments that Klay made. So maybe I'll get your opinion here. Is this going to move the needle for Dallas? What kind of impact is he going to have? Are they going to be a contender next year with Klay Thompson as part of the organization?
Probably still a little bit torn on that, Woods. Look, firstly, I think it's a good reason that he chose Dallas here. I think a lot of people thought, it's going to be Lakers or maybe even Clippers as a bit of a backup. We know he's a California native. His father, Michael Thompson, was a Lakers player back in the day. So I like the reasoning for sort of going there. Look, I think Dallas is a good franchise to go to, and they're obviously in a good position at the moment. So I don't know. Look, He's had a lot of injuries the last few years. He's managed to play through it last year, but his body has started to let him down a bit. I think if you're talking offensively, Woods, he could definitely move the needle for them. I think playing with guys like Luka and Kyrie, guys that are very good passers, especially someone like Luka who's such a willing passer, he could really fit in well. He's got to fit in the wings and the corners, and he'll get some probably perhaps more wide open looks than he's ever had. It's perhaps the defense that worries me. I think I did mention maybe on last week's show, I thought losing Josh Green there and Derek Jones Jr. as well. Yep. So they've lost two really good defenders, and they've got someone who's, although he's still got the reputation, he's got those accolades on his resume as being a great defender, he just didn't seem to move that well laterally, guarding a sort of strong wings and everything else like that. So that part's probably a little bit to be decided. But I love his fit offensively with them. I think it seems like he is going to start from what I'm hearing.
For sure.
I know we spoke a little bit offline today, and he's choosing to rock the number 31 jersey because he was a massive fan of Reggie Miller growing up. So that's pretty cool. I like it. Geez, that's going to look weird, isn't it? Seeing, it's like one of those ones, those legends we spoke about before, and they change, teams. We're so used to seeing him in, the the colours that you're wearing now with that number 11. So seeing 31 in a Mavs jersey is going to be weird, but looking forward to seeing it. And how amazing will that first game be back in the Bay when he plays it this season?
It'll be unreal, right?
Yeah. And tell you, Woods, talking about Klay Thompson, the one thing that sticks on me throughout his career is that, what did he get in that quarter that time? Was it
37?
I remember being out. I think my daughter was really young at the time, and I was walking around in a pram trying to get her to fall asleep, and my phone was just blowing up. Like, Klay's got 21 in the quarter. Tway's got 25. Klay's got 29. I've never seen anything like it. So for someone to have that sort of a quarter, that was, I think it was a Sunday afternoon, our time from memory, if I'm thinking right.
The Sacramento bench were getting off the floor. They were going nuts. Yeah. They were loving it. That was
ridiculous.
A moment in time, right?
Yeah, that's definitely, if people haven't watched that one, look that up on YouTube and watch that. It's crazy.
That is as in fuego as anyone can ever get, ever.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, okay, so I'll just quickly go through some of his accolades. In my opinion, a Hall of Famer for sure. 100%. He was the 11th overall pick in the first round of the 2011 NBA draft. He spent the last, 13, 14 years actually with the Golden State Warriors. So from 2011 till 2024, since he signed with Dallas, he's a 4-time NBA champion, 5-time NBA All-Star, 2-time All-NBA third-teamer. As you said, NBA All-Defensive second team in 2019. That's something that's probably post the injury has deserted him a bit. That defensive prowess that he once
rightfully
had.
So, right, Woods, I reckon. Yeah,
absolutely, man. NBA 3-point contest winner, NBA All-Rookie first teamer. So a lot of accolades there. How will he be remembered as a Golden State Warriors? You know, his jersey's going to hang in the rafters. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's part of the greatest shooting backcourt in the history of basketball. Agreed?
Yeah, it's going to be very hard to take over that. And also shout out to fake Klay as well. I always like watching his videos. Sure. The guy that was a bit of a lookalike of Klay, had quite a few extra kilos and a bit shorter, but he used to rock around the area trying to get him.
That was so funny.
Thompson. That was always amusing, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yep. So, he'll always be remembered fondly in Golden State.
Nice.
Okay, let's get into the body of the show, man. Okay, so I've got a structure for this. I know you're a bit angry and you got a few opinions you want to voice. So I want to go through the selections for the Olympics, the Boomers and the Opals, right? And give our opinions on what we think, what should have been done in our opinions, how it's going to potentially affect us at the games, right? So let's start off with the men, shall we?
And I should say, Woods, before we get into it, we're recording on Thursday, the 11th of July. It's probably a good job we didn't record this, 4 or 5 days ago, because I know we were both steaming about it. I'm a pretty mellow guy. I've sort of calmed down a little bit, but I've still definitely got some thoughts there. But I just thought I'd sort of throw that out there as well.
Yes, for sure, Robbie. So I've got it up here. Obviously, they needed to trim down the roster of 17 to 12 players. And you can see on the screen in front of you, for those who can't see, I'm just going to read out. The final 12 is Josh Giddey, Patty Mills, Josh Green, Jock Landale, Duop Reith, Dante Exum, Will Magnay, Dyson Daniels, Nick Kay, Joe Ingles, Jack McVeigh, Matthew Dellavedova. So
can you just scroll down, because I can't see Matisse, Leibel and Xavier Cook. So can you just scroll down and show me them? They're not on there. Oh, okay. All right. Let's talk about that.
So let's get into it. Okay, there's 5 of them players that missed out. So we've got DJ Vasiljevic, Xavier Cooks, Matisse Thybulle, Jack White, and Chris Golding, right?
Yeah.
So let's start off with Matisse Thybulle straight away, right?
Can we start another way, Woods? I know you got that structured. Let's start. I think there's 2 that nearly everyone would agree with was never going to make that right, and that's DJ and Jack White. So take those 2 out, right?
Agreed.
Everyone's agreeing with that. I don't think there's been any argument about those 2. So it essentially leaves 3 spots, right? So yeah. All right, go back to thought.
No, you. No, I like it. You're running this.
Right. So look, those 2, rule them out, sort of thing. Look, Matisse Thybulle. I don't even really have words. Probably the main word I'd use would be inexcusable, Woods. And I think a lot of people, we've made our predictions as well. We both thought he'd be a starter. And I think a lot of people, this isn't just, us, a couple of guys that do a podcast once a week. There's, people that are former Boomers, current, people in the media, everything else like that. They've all sort of thought the same. I just don't understand that. I was actually thinking about it today. I wonder if there's been something that happened. Maybe there was a little fallout with a coach or something. Apparently it was a bit of pushback. A lot of the assistants were like, what are you doing? We need this guy on the team. We know that Gorgin's ultimately got the final decision. I'm just going to run with that word, inexcusable, Woods. I can't even fathom that they don't have Matisse in this team, right? I mean, he's an all-world defender, right? He's an improved three-point shooter. He was there in the Rose Gold team. He was there in the World Cup. He's had pretty good seasons in the NBA. I think, he's probably fit in pretty well in Portland. He's still putting up good numbers. And more importantly, Woods, there's going to be so many guys that we might have to come up against. We
Right.
didn't know who it was at the time, but you're talking guys like SGA for Canada. We're talking, Spain have got a number of guys that you can put him on. Who else am I thinking there? Who else are they playing in the
Greece.
pool? Greece. Look, he's obviously undersized for Giannis, but he's someone that you can throw at him. He's a big boy, Matisse Thybulle. I'm stunned, honestly. I think that the other ones are open for debate, right? I think you probably agree with that. That's just the one I just can't work it out. It's been the longer the days have gone on since that announcement. I just honestly can't believe it. Like, did Gorgon forget about it? Did he hand out all these spots and oh no, I forgot about Matisse. Oh well, I'm just going to. I don't understand it. I literally have no idea what's going on there.
Yeah. So let's break it down then, right? From a perspective of Matisse and him actually embracing the culture that the Boomers have created, right? Embracing our country, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being part of that previous Olympic winning squad, right? He started his video logs, which were very popular. In fact, he's already started his video logs for this particular Olympics, thinking he's a surefire lock.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to bring him into our program, because we were allowed to. We couldn't bring Bryce Cotton, so we brought Matisse Thybulle into our program.
Slightly different though, because he is born here, right?
Fine,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But still, there's a rule that you're only allowed one of those naturalized players in your team, right? As per the FIBA rules or whatever. So either Cotton or Matisse, you couldn't have both of them, right? I don't think he was born here. He was born in the US and lived here for an extended period of time, right?
So yeah.
But anyway, the point is, he's been on this journey with us for the last 4 or 5 years. What does this say to him? Is this it's a kick in the guts to him? And you did tell me offline that you heard through the grapevine that once the announcement was made, he just, what did he do? He picked up his bags, left for the airport? Tell me about that.
Apparently he just left. I think he was almost stunned. He maybe hung around for a bit and maybe said his goodbyes to people, and then he was back on a plane back to the US. So you wonder with someone like him, this is such a kick in the guts, whether he might just not even put his hand up for selection anymore.
Exactly.
He might, there's probably been times where he could have focused on that upcoming NBA season, perhaps could have chased some money in free agency, everything else like that. He's always committed to the Boomers, right, Woods? He seems like a great teammate. We certainly know that. It seems like a good guy. And I can't believe it. Look, saying that though, the way that they seem to be rewarding all the old guys and giving some of these guys retirement tours, which is honestly what it feels like for probably 3 of these guys that I'm going to talk about soon. Maybe he will get a go in the next time. Whether he actually puts his hand up and wants to be associated with this team, that's another story. But yeah, I don't understand it, Woods. It's a shocking decision and a poor decision.
That's what I was trying to get to next, which you just jumped in and said it perfectly, right? After all he's given to this country, this program, for him to be treated that way, by us, he's not coming back. I wouldn't if I was in his shoes. Would you?
No,
right.
I agree. Yeah.
And I think the whole of the Australian public saying, look, it's not us who made this decision. We all think you should be in the team. It's not just the celebrities. It's not just the ex-players and commentators and pundits. It's also just people from the general basketball adoring public that have expressed their unhappiness at this decision.
Like I said, Woods, these other spots we're going to talk about, we're definitely up for debate. This one with Matisse Thybulle is not up for debate. It's a ridiculous oversight by whether you put it down on Bryant Gorgon. I'm not sure. There's obviously a pretty deep coaching staff there. I can't think that they all would have not wanted him there, unless, like I said, there's something that's gone on that we haven't been sort of privy to, sort of thing. But yeah, it's very disappointing. So, should we talk about the other guys that we thought?
Yeah, quickly. Yeah. Look, Xavier Cooks there. Yeah, so you said obviously DJ Vasiljevic, Jack White were never going to make it.
So that means I need 3 more guys, right? And I'm gonna take out the 3 old guys, Woods, and I'll sort of give a reason for each, right? So Nick Kay would be the first one that I would have got rid of after those 3. Look, this is coming from a Wildcats lifer like me.
So hold on for a second. So Chris Golding, Xavier Cooks, and Matisse Thybulle are the 3 that did not make it, right?
No, and they would all make my team, 100%. All 3 of those.
And you would take 3 out. Talk to me. Yeah.
Okay, so Nick Kay's the first one, right? So former Wildcat, I'm not putting my Homer hat on sort of thing. I thought he was poor at the World Cup, if I'm being honest with you. I think he's really slowed down. He can hit some corner threes. Okay, he's okay at that. I think we can do better than someone like that, right? He's not a great defender these days. He's a pretty solid rebounder. He's had a great career, but this feels like one of those ones that he's probably pretty close with Gorgon. Again, feels like a bit of a career reward type thing. I don't get it. He would have been, so basically DJ would have been the first one off, then Jack White, then Nick Kay for me. So that's probably what I've got to say for that. The other 2, look, they were a little bit harder. Probably the first one I'd say next would be Delhi. So look, these 2 guys that I'm going to talk about, I love both these guys. I know you certainly do as well. For me, with Delhi, right, I feel like we've got a lot of guys that play that position on the squad already. So if you think about guys that like to handle the ball, we've got Josh Giddey, we've got Paddy Mills, we've got Dante. So that's 3 guys already that, need the ball and stuff like that. And I hear that argument, Delhi's a great teammate. You can bring him on, you can not play him for a game, bring him on, he'll put all his body on the line. And I get that, right? But I feel like that role would have been much more suited for a more specialist guy. So someone like Matisse for his defense, someone like CG. So if you're talking to someone like Delhi that might not even play every game, why not have Chris Golding in that position, right? So you could have a game where we just start off and we're struggling to score. You could bring him on in the second quarter of a game, Woods, and say to him, like, take 5 3-pointers in the next 4 minutes. See if you can get hot. See if you can get 2 or 3. Stretch the defense out a bit. Change the opposition's defense that they're throwing at us and that sort of stuff. So I think CG would have been a lot smarter addition than him. Shout out to Delhi, right? We all love the guy. We love how he puts his body on the line. He didn't make the World Cup team, and it's a pretty big comeback to not make that and now make this one. But for me personally, I would have had CG. And the third one, I just think it was time to say goodbye to Joe Ingles. I would have had Xavier Cooks in that spot there. I think we need another younger, athletic guy. I get it. I get the knock on Xavier Cooks. He can't shoot. That's why he's not playing in the NBA at the moment. He really hasn't improved that. He's a poor free throw shooter. We know all that sort of stuff. Yeah. But if you're looking at big guys that can perhaps guard someone like Giannis, can guard, someone like Herman Gomez for Spain, for example, who knows if we're to make it through to a next round, the sort of big guys you'll be coming up against then. There's such a loaded Olympics. So I would have had Cooks. Again, Ingles is another guy that needs the ball. I don't really know what else you're getting from him at the moment, apart from someone that comes on and gives shit to the opposition players, right? We know he does that well. Shout out to that. But yeah, so basically, just to recap that, Woods, I think we both agree we wouldn't have Jack White and DJ. Yep. For those other 3 positions, I'd have Matisse Thybulle, Xavier Cooks, and CG in. And then I would have Ingles, Kay, and Delhi. And just to finish off, before you give your sort of 2 cents, I'm really pleased that the 2 Tassie guys made it. I'm totally happy with that. Yeah. I'm a massive Jack McVeigh fan, right? So I think he deserved it. I love the size he's got. He can play inside and outside. He's got a pretty complete game. Got that European game that I mentioned before. But I quite like Will Magnay in the team as well. Maybe it's a bit of a panic about what happened in the World Cup when Landale got injured and they were undersized. But you're playing against some big teams there. He's someone that can really play defense and protect the rim. So again, I don't think he's going to be playing a lot of minutes, but I like the fact that he's there. And I also think you can play a Landale or a Duop Breath at the 4 with him if you want to go a really tall, big lineup against certain teams there. So that's my thoughts. That's probably a lot of thoughts that I've been blurting out, but yeah, give me yours, bro.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't really mind about the 2 Tasmanian guys, right? McVeigh, you can slide him to the 4 as well, which is great. Gives that versatility. Look, I understand that these guys, Ingles and Delhi, right, have been servants to the Australian basketball for so many years. So this is just I'm okay with them being in there, but at the same point, I'm okay with it if say Cooks and Golding came in as you advised, right? But one thing I would definitely have is Nick Kay out of there for Matisse Thybulle. I agree with you completely on that. Nick Kay is cooked, right? Have him in there for Matisse Thybulle, and I'm really not. In fact, that's the only one I'm angry about. I'm okay with the others and mix and matching, whatever. Okay, it's much of a muchness.
Hey, Woods, I should say you are angry too. You're someone that's a pretty mellow guy, people that are close to you and those sort of thing. This has angered you, hasn't it?
Oh, every time I think about it, I texted you that every time I think about Thybulle being left off the roster, my blood boils, and you're like, me too, man. So, all right, okay. Well, I'm still going to be right behind the Australian team. Selection is out of our control. In the end, we're going to get behind our country with pride and wish them the best. So I'm going to move on to the Opals, and I'm going to throw that over to you. I'm just going to bring that up now. If you want to just take the audience through the selected squad. Go for it.
All right, so there's obviously a mix of the WNBA and then the WNBL players that have made it. So just to read them out, so I think this is in alphabetical order. So we've got Beck Allen, Izzy Borlays, Kayla George, Lauren Jackson, Tess Madgen, Ezzy Magabor, Jade Melbourne, Alana Smith, Steph Talbot, Mariana Tolo, Christy Wallace, and Sammy Wickham. Look, I think it's a solid team, Woods. I'm obviously, I'll start off, right, and just, it's probably no shock. I'm so disappointed that Lauren Nicholson didn't make it. I've been in touch with her this week. We shared a few messages.
Yep.
She's obviously really disappointed, as as I am, and people that are sort of close to her are, sort of thing. I just think if you're talking players that would have made a difference there, she's one of the more complete players. If you're looking at those NBL players, someone that's won Defensive Player of the Year award, someone that can stretch his own defense, stretch a man-to-man defense, and hit shots from everywhere. She can handle the ball well. She's in great shape and in great form at the moment, right? So had a great WNBL season. She's always good in NBL 1. So she's the massive omission for me there. And I guess if you've got to put someone back in, I think she should be. For me, it's Tess Madgenwoods. I think she's a little bit washed up, if I'm being honest. I know she's getting in for that leadership sort of aspect, and that's probably a hard thing sometimes if you're, a leader of a team.
So she's getting the Matthew Dellavedova treatment, is what you're trying to say.
Possibly
here, right?
so, yeah. I just think Loz would have been such a, and that's hard because they're teammates as well, right, for the Flames. But so disappointed not to see Loz make it. So Madgen's one. Maybe Borlays as well is another one. Very young player there. Look, a great player. I'm not going to knock her, but maybe you could have had one of the more veterans in there. The only other one I thought maybe was a little bit lucky, who I don't think's been great over the last year or two, would be Kayla George. She's one I thought was maybe a little bit lucky. Otherwise, apart from that, I think they got it pretty well. I really like Mariana Tolo's game. I think she's really good.
Awesome.
So like the fact she's in the team, and I love some of these, players in the WNBA, talking players like Steph Talbot. Great to see Alana Smith make it. Obviously, daughter of Darren Smith there. She's been having a great season. And you've got some young guns in there. Borlays is there, Jade Melbourne's there. So that would probably be the one for me. Again, look, I'm not going to be too objective, obviously. Everyone that knows me knows that, Loz Nicholson is my favourite women's player. So I actually bought her Opals jersey, when they started those games before the selection was done. And I'll be wearing that when they're playing their games. And I'll be representing Loz. So if you're listening, Loz, I've got you there. So, yeah, that was kind of my thoughts. And look, I think there is still a really big chance. Obviously, that American women's team is far ahead of everyone else. But we know there's some great teams. We know how good Japan is these days. They're going to be really hard. France as well. But what are your thoughts? What were your thoughts on the selection?
Yeah, someone like Annalie Maley, is she off the radar?
She's on the 3-on-3 team. So she's going to the Olympics, but she's playing 3-on-3. Yeah. So I actually don't mind that. She's almost turning into that 3-on-3 specialist, coached by Damon Lowry, which is pretty cool. I know. So I like that. So I'm looking forward to watch a bit of that. I think we'd be a legit chance to medal in that 3-on-3 format as well.
And Shyla Hill putting up gaudy numbers around the world somewhere. Was she not considered?
She scored 50 in the last 2 games in the WNBL, in the NBL 1 East for Sydney Comets.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, you wonder whether some of that baggage behind her, people can sort of, probably interpret what I'm meaning about that. Maybe they felt like they were set at that, sort of small sort of guard position there. But, it's an interesting one, isn't it? But otherwise, I think they've done a pretty good job with the team there. Sammy Whitcomb, I'm pleased that she's made that team again. I do like the way she plays as well. So they will probably be the only two. When I first looked at it, I would have had Loz over Tess Madgen. Borlays, I'm not quite sure who I would have had over her, so maybe it is a good selection. So maybe it's just the one. And same with Kayla George, really. I mean, she's certainly been a great servant at the game for the Opals. So, why not sort of run it back with them, I guess.
Yeah, and shout out to Jade Melbourne as well. She's come along nicely, and to get this opportunity for it's really nice to see her develop, right, and go to the Olympics. All right, man. So let's. That was really nice, man. Some really good comments there. We're going to be right behind the girls and the boys at the Olympics. So let's move on to some NBA player movement. There's a lot that's been going on, man. So I'm going to throw a few topics at you. Just open up some windows for you to walk through, and you can speak.
I'm guessing we're starting with the Taurean Prince signing, or
okay, we can get to that. No, I want to start off on Paul George. Right now, the All-Star guard Paul George recently said he felt disrespected by the Los Angeles Clippers.
Yeah.
He was first offered a 2-year, $60 million contract, and on his podcast P with Paul George, he then detailed how he would have accepted the same 3-year deal the team offered Kawhi Leonard, but he was actually, not afforded that same deal. And he said, "You all view us the same. We came here together. We want to finish this shit together." George said, "I'll take what Kawhi got, no problem. I was cool with that, and we were still taking less. Kawhi took less. So if Kawhi takes less, it's not about me being paid more than him. You all got to give him that. You got to give me that." He's basically saying you need to match what Kawhi got myself. And they finally came around and apparently matched that. But by that time, it was too late. The ship had sailed. He felt disrespected, and that's why he left the LA Clippers. Do you think there's a sign there that the Clippers have just said, "Look, we're done. We're lowballing you at the start as is, right?" To say,
Firstly, with Kawhi Leonard Woods, they should put something into his contract that he's paid per game because I reckon they'll probably save a fair bit on the salary cap there. I don't really understand their angle, especially Steve Ballmer. We know, I think he might even be the richest owner there. He's just, he's loaded. Apparently his stocks have even gone up more in the last 12 months. I would have thought going to this new stadium, and we know that was big news when we were in LA recently that they're going to the new stadium. I would have thought you would have wanted those guys to sell the tickets and everything like that. We know this second apron thing's pretty hard. We know the league doesn't want teams to stack, three main players on one team there, but that offer you mentioned, that 2 year $60 million, I mean that's a pretty poor offer for someone of his caliber, isn't it? I mean there's guys in the league KCP's getting that sort of money and stuff like that, right? Yep. That's a bit of a shock there, but it's strange, isn't it? I would have liked to have seen him. I know you're probably more of a Kawhi fan than me. I would have probably picked him first over those other three, so I would have preferred to have him over Kawhi and James Harden, and he's been pretty durable the last year as well. Doesn't always deliver in playoffs, as we know, but yeah, it does seem a bit interesting. I think the Clippers are just being a little bit cheap there, I think.
I mean, you can't get both these guys fit on the court. They've tried it for multiple years now, right? Yeah. They've just basicly lowballed him, said, we're done. If you want to stay, here's a shit offer, take it or leave it. And then eventually they came around because, oh man, we're going to a new arena. We need to be profitable. We need to be competitive. We need to keep this guy. So we'll finally match the offer. He actually asked for a fourth year, a potential option on a fourth year and no trade clause, which they refused.
Tell you Woods, that part I could maybe side on the Clippers. A 4-year contract for someone at his age with his injury history is a massive risk.
No trade clause either.
Yeah, exactly. I can maybe see why they wouldn't, but I don't know why they couldn't have worked out something better with a 3-year deal.
Yep. Okay, cool. Let's move on to LeBron James. He was going to take a pay cut in the hope that the Lakers front office could target the likes of a Klay Thompson or a DeMar DeRozan, and that didn't work out. He did take a slight pay cut, but he's on a nice deal, right? For an end of career deal kind of thing, right?
That's like us instead of buying a Big Mac, we just buy a cheeseburger instead of something. I mean, God, we're talking such a slim pay cut, Woods. He's. I think he could have taken a lot more and potentially they could have had more room to get free agents. Obviously, he's entitled to that money, but he can't then go and complain this season that the team hasn't put players around him that he wants to have around him, right? Because he's just taken $50 million a year at age 39. So, yeah, like you said, a slight pay cut, but I wouldn't be giving him too many pats on the back. He's got his son there, of course, as well. He's getting $4 million deal as well. So, yeah, I've got some concerns about that. I think it was
$107 million down to $104 million over 2 years.
Oh, that's super generous. Yeah, that's like us buying each other like a drink at the pub and saying, "No, you don't owe me for that one." I mean, seriously, but yeah, interesting, isn't it?
So I think he's just happy that he's not going to really compete for a championship again for the rest of his career, but he gets the opportunity to play with his son, which is fair enough. Yeah. Right. All right. Free agent forward Joe Ingles, our very own, has agreed on a 1-year deal to join the Minnesota Timberwolves. So sources told ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski Ingles reunites with his old Utah Jazz teammates Rudy Gobert and Mike Conley. How do you like that?
Yep. I don't mind that. There's another guy on this free agent thing we might talk about in Kyle Anderson. So essentially Minnesota got rid of one slow-mo and added another slow-mo.
Correct.
We know he fits in well in teams, Joe Ingles, and that's probably what's got him at the spots at the end of these benches, similar to what Patty Mills has done these last few years. So I don't think it's a bad signing. Certainly you'd massively prefer to have Kyle Anderson. I would have thought he'd be a much more productive player at this stage of their careers there. But yeah, I don't mind it. Like you said, reuniting with his old Utah buddies there. Not the worst signing in the world. And did you say it was a 2-year deal or a 1-year deal?
No, 1-year deal.
1-year deal. Interesting. Yep. You wonder whether this will be his last opportunity or whether he can keep getting these short deals. But yeah, it's not the worst move.
Yeah, he was serviceable last year. Probably coming to the end, 1 or 2 more years max, I'd say, in the NBA before potentially a farewell tour in the NBL, which would be nice. Maybe, All right, so while we're on the subject, free agent Kyle Anderson he signed a 3-year, $27 million contract with GSW, Golden State Warriors. Reported to Woj, the deal will be complete with a sign and trade with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Golden State is trading a future second-round pick swap and cash in the deal for Minnesota. So Kyle Anderson should fit nicely into that Steve Kerr.
Well, not only Kyle Anderson Woods, they also got Buddy Hield on a pretty cheap deal. So I'll mention them. I'll package them in one sort of thing. So they got him on, was it a 3-year deal, maybe $20 million or something like that. So that's pretty good money in this day and age for a productive guy, Buddy Hield. I think his stocks fell a little bit last year. But look, they got DeAnthony Melton last week as well. We might not have mentioned that one. So look, if someone said to me we could essentially trade Klay for Slow-Mo, Buddy Hield and DeAnthony Melton, I actually think Golden State are probably a little bit better with those 3 players there. So I think I like the fit with Buddy Hield playing with Steph. I think that's probably two of the greatest three-point shooters. Well, obviously the best three-point shooter. I think Buddy's maybe the second most makes in the last 8 seasons or so, if I'm not mistaken. So, but yeah, I like Kyle Anderson. I think he could fit in pretty well in that roster there, and Melton coming across as well. So it's not a bad off-season so far, even though you've lost a legend, you've replaced him with some solid players.
Yeah, Buddy Hield can potentially fill that void.
Another new jersey I need to get now as well, Wood. So I'll be getting a Buddy Hield jersey for Emily. Yeah.
All right, a few others quickly. Xavier Tillman to the Celtics. I know they needed some front court help, but Porzingis going to be going down for the whole year. Basically, he's going to only be playing for next year, so that helps him a little bit. What else is there? James Wiseman, we spoke about last week. He agreed to a 2-year contract with the Pacers.
Yeah.
This is probably last chance salon for him, right?
I think so.
What else we got? We got Veet. 4 years did he sign with us? I think today.
I believe they've offered him the contract that he just signed now. Is it interesting? Yeah. So, yeah, I know I would have probably preferred if they brought back Bruno Fernando. I know they're still talking with him, but look, we've got to sign some of these players there. One I wanted to ask you was I wasn't sure if you had it on the run. Just happened maybe in the last day or two, but was Caleb Martin getting that 4-year deal with Philly there? So
that. Yeah.
Don't mind that deal. Obviously, he had that really good playoff series. He actually turned down a contract that he probably regretting now. He's done the Dennis Schroeder move and banked on himself, and it hasn't quite worked out.
Cost himself $20 million.
Yeah, 100%. But he's a pretty good, sort of 5th, 6th guy on that team there. He could even potentially start with Philly as well. So Philly's had a pretty solid
Philly's had the best offseason, man.
Yeah.
They managed to retain guys like Kelly Oubre, brought back Andre Drummond, Eric Gordon. You just spoke of adding some help there in Caleb Martin, right? Alongside the, Paul George, Joel Embiid, and Tyrese Maxey. That team's looking good, man.
Yeah, there's some firepower there. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Any others? Okay, you wanted to speak about your boy Torian Prince? Yeah?
There's a couple more, actually. So firstly, Dario Saric to Denver. I quite like that. Sure. I think that was a 2-year, $10 million deal or something. So he was pretty good with Golden State. They needed to replace someone. We know they're a little bit cheap lately, so I reckon that's a pretty good signing for Golden State. And probably the only other one I know you had, I think,
Derozan.
Let's talk about that one last. Maybe Alex Burks to Miami. So, that was a pretty good deal as well. A couple of year, maybe a 2-year contract. I think we know he can still fill it up and put points on the board. Torian Prince, I'm still waiting for him to make that All-Star team. People have maybe heard that joke before. I'll say that I maybe predicted, 6-7 years ago, I can see a future All-Star in that guy. Well, I'm way off with that one, but what did I say about Jack McVeigh when he was at the end of the bench with Adelaide? I said, this guy's going to be a star in the right situation. He's now on the Boomers. So we'll call it one for one there. Torian Prince got a 1-year deal with the Bucks. Yeah. But, why don't you finish off? Actually, I should say before we talk about Derozan Wood, so as far as my sort of big board left of players, the free agents that haven't signed, so we've got Tyus Jones from Washington. I'm surprised he's still out there. Kyle Lowry, a veteran point guard. We've got Isaac No-Scoro. No one's picked him up yet. Spencer Dinwiddie and Gary Trent Jr. So that's literally it now. So probably means that we're not going to be having a show next week. I don't think any of those are going to quite, make an emergency pod thing. Gary Trent Jr. is probably someone that you think someone would take a chance on. And I've heard the Hawks are maybe talking to Sadiq Bey, right? They haven't extended the contract. They might get him back on a cheaper deal, noting his injury there. So that's kind of good stuff anyway. But let's talk about the Sacramento and Bulls move.
Yeah, so the Kings have agreed on a sign and trade deal that will land DeMar DeRozan on a 3-year, $74 million contract. Very reasonable for his kind of production. The deal will also send Harrison Barnes to the San Antonio Spurs and Chris Duarte, who was injured for most of this year, and 2 second-round picks and cash to the Chicago Bulls. So firstly, coming back to California, I always thought that DeMar DeRozan would head back to LA eventually, being from there. But he lands in Sacramento. I think that's a really, really good fit for him. The Sacramento Kings get off that Harrison Barnes contract as well, which is good, right?
I don't mind it. Look, DeRozan is pretty limited on defense these days, and he's definitely got that old school game that won't stretch defenses outside the 3-point line. But he's a durable player. He put up some great numbers last year. Probably an underrated passer. I think he was around 6 or 7 assists. But they've got a clutch player at the end of games now with Sacramento. So not a team that traditionally gets high-profile free agents. I think they probably had to make a move. But you're talking a player like De'Aaron Fox and DeMar DeRozan. Both those guys can definitely fill it up. We know DeRozan's a match winner. I think he might have had a couple of buzzer beaters last year like he does every year. So I actually don't mind that. I think they did pretty well. It's clear that Chicago are, what did I say? They're gonna try and sag for flag. I'm coining that one already. So they're going to try and sag with their team there and just see what they can do and perhaps get Cooper Flag, who's supposed to be a gun next year. So and look, probably on the Spurs, they're not bad getting Harrison Barnes. That's a pretty good veteran pickup
and
there.
Chris
That they can
Paul
surround.
having guys like HB and CP3 in the locker room is going to be good for that side.
No, that's pretty good business, I think. Yeah.
Yep, I agree. I think we talked about big threes in last couple of episodes. I think last episode I said that big three of Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, and Paul George, probably the best big three in the NBA. And you said, what do you have to think about it? What about this big three? DeMar DeRozan, De'Aaron Fox, and Sabonis.
Well, that's a very big three when you consider how big Sabonis' head is, right? But I love Mr. Sabonis there. It's certainly a big three. I'd certainly like that Philly one, definitely over that. And we'd probably have to get a bit of a list if we're talking big threes, but it's up there, isn't it? I like it. And like we said, when was the last time Sacramento managed to sign someone in free agency? So they had to make some sort of move, and I think that was a pretty good work. Just to give up Harrison Barnes and a couple of second-round picks, it's not a bad move there.
Not bad at all.
Mm.
All right, man. So let's So you remember that old classic pack I had of 35? I've still got it, right?
So we haven't done classic packs for about 3 weeks now, right? So we've had a lot to talk about. So
let's had a lot to talk about, and I know it's a segment all our audience loves. I'm just going to pull a handful here, maybe 6 or 7, and then we'll just get through the pack over the...
It's safe to say, Woods, I bought a few cards this week. I know people close to me know that I've decided I'm going to start collecting autographed NBA cards. So I've been going a bit nuts for that.
Well, why don't you talk about them during Classic Packs one week, man? And
definitely. I can maybe do a bit of a show and tell for us. Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. This is a Denver Nuggets card, but this man is most well known for being Dwight Howard's homie, man. That guy who always rolled with Dwight Howard.
It's got to be Jameer Nelson, right?
Love
Jameer Nelson. He was such a funny built guy, wasn't he? The body shape he's got on there, but he was quality, Jameer Nelson.
One-time NBA All-Star?
Yeah, I think he could be right.
Yeah, I think I am right. Okay. In his early Minnesota days, Kevin Garnett loved this guy. As a rookie, I thought he would go on to bigger and better things, but stayed on in the NBA as a journeyman guard. Recently would have left the league. This is his Nets card. Started off at Minnesota, always been this little spark plug guy off the bench, a guard. A little bit of a combo guard. Number 4.
Ooh.
I had a pretty
Randy Foye?
Randy Foye. Yeah.
Nice. He's rocking the old long sleeve jersey in that one. Yeah, nice. Yeah, he was all right, wasn't he? He was a high pick, wasn't he? It was like that Washington and Minnesota trade that they had on draft night from memory, I think. Yeah.
Ooh, talk about draft bust. I'm pretty sure he was the second pick by Minnesota in the 2000 what draft was it? 2011 draft. This is Miami Heat card. I'm surprised he never mattered to anything. He's the second pick in the 2011 draft for Minnesota, and I thought he'd be great. And he got one final shot with the Miami Heat in 2016-17, but he's not been seen since.
Beasley?
No. Derek Williams.
Oh, right. Wow, that's a blast from the past. Yeah, jeez. Yeah, you're right. I forgot how high a draft pick he was.
And the work this man has done for grassroots basketball in Sudan can't be understated. He spent a lot of his formative years in Great Britain. This is his Miami Heat card, but he's most well known for being played into the ground by Tom Thibodeau for 48 minutes a night.
Got a pretty solid contract with the Lakers, I believe, as well. Luol Deng.
Deng. Him and Timothy Mozgov are still partying together over those contracts.
I think he's still getting paid, right? I think he still might be getting a contract from someone. Yeah.
Man, just an awesome little spark plug guard off the bench for the New Orleans Hornets back in the day. Number 22 could do a little bit of everything. You could just always rely on him, a bit like a Jason Hart kind of guy, right? He reminded me of Jason Hart, right? This guy was
Josh Hart or Jason Hart?
No. Jason Hart, the old
the old one from the Pelicans,
the old guard who just be chucked into different. Yeah.
Number 22 for the Pelicans and a little guard.
You remember Jason Hart? He's journeyman, played for many teams. Yeah, this guy reminded me of Jason Hart. Yeah.
You play for anyone else apart from them?
No, it's a tough one. Brian Roberts.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah,
a little legend.
Solid. Yeah. Geez, we haven't really got any big names in this packet, have we, so far? And today's part.
I think he might still be in the league. I remember him as a point guard off the bench. He's Brazilian, I think, from memory. I think he might still be on the bench at the end of the Washington bench. European guard, 2016-17.
Barbosa, Nene, who else in Brazil?
Raul Neto.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't think he's still around, is he? Or?
Yeah, I thought he might still be. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyone, you never know if it's with Washington. They probably need some players there.
Legend, okay, one of the greatest scorers of all time, New York Knicks legend. I know him mostly as a Denver Nugget, right? We also know that he had some stints at Portland and, Hall of Famer for sure. He's just got a stake in Australian basketball.
We saw him yesterday as well with Team USA with D Wade and LeBron there. So yeah, Mello.
Yeah. So what's this? Nice. He's part of the Next Stars program. He's going to invest in a new franchise. What's he doing for the Australian basketball? Do you know that?
You know what, Woods? I reckon we might have to get Liam Santa Maria back on the show, one of our original guests, and get him to talk a bit about that. So how about you leave that with me? I'll reach out to Santa and we'll try and get him on. Yeah.
Love this guy. I wore his jersey on the show recently. Still has a great career happening in Europe. Flat out shooter. Orlando Magic.
Ooh, Mario Hezonja. Is that a rookie card? Is it?
Super Mario Hezonja's rookie card.
Yeah. Is he?
It's not his rookie card, no, because he was drafted in 13-14, right? So
Serbian, right?
Yep. Oh no, he's Croatian.
Croatian, okay. I was going to say, so Croatia didn't make it, did they, for the Olympics?
No.
Yeah, geez, it's hard to make that Olympic pool, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep. All right, awesome, man. Thanks for that. Great show. I must say, at the start of the show, when I did my brand new introduction, I forgot to say, please follow the show on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. So it just rang in my head that I forgot to say that. So I just thought I'd mention that. So Robbie, why don't you take everyone out with where we can be found, followed, all of that? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, look, of course, on YouTube, please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe. We really appreciate everyone's support on that platform. If you're listening to the audio, that podcast is available where all good podcasts can be found. We can be followed on X at Throwbacks Hoops, Instagram, throwback.hoops, and our email address is throwbackhoopspodcast@gmail.com. Also, Patreon, for those that are big supporters of the show, we'd really appreciate it if you're able to pledge a little bit of support for that. No obligation to, obviously, but if you did that, it would certainly assist us with all the expenses associated with maintaining this podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Robbie. Really appreciate that. So what's going to happen? We're going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to come back for a show next week.
I think we're going to take a week off, right? So let's take a week off next week, and then we'll come back, and then we can definitely talk a little bit more because I don't think too much will happen next week. We've got the Olympics happening after that. I've got my last NBL 1 home game to commentate this weekend. I'm commentating solo as well, so for those that listen out, it'll be me talking the whole game, which is I'm probably going to have no voice left at the end of that. So let's take a week off, and we'll try and prepare a bit of an Olympic show and sort of wrap up free agency. And then before we know it, we'll be previewing the NBL.
Yep.
I have teased it as well. I know we haven't had a guest for a little while now, but definitely got some guests up the sleeve now. I'm talking former NBA players, former NBL All-Stars, plus we'd love to get some of the guests we've had back already, some of the guys that have helped us, to perhaps, help us preview some of these NBL shows.
Yeah.
So leave that with us. We'll definitely organise some guests to come back on. And we'll enjoy 1 week off anyway. Hopefully people will be okay with that.
All right, well, you heard Robbie. He's the boss. We'll be back in 2 weeks. So thanks for everyone's ongoing support. And until we do it all again, it's peace out from Robbie and I and the whole crew at Throwback Hoops.